to put this very blankly, I think people have overblown it a little bit. If the tool still works for you, then why would you switch? In this video, I'm going to cover the recent Unity scandal and why I think it's overblown, and why I'm going to keep using Unity, and why I think you should also keep using Unity. So in case you don't know who I am, I'm Brian. So in case you don't know who I am, I have a YouTube channel with 100,000 subscribers, and I'm basically like a game developer that uploads devlogs. And I've decided that I want to help game developers like you become more successful. I have over 400,000 downloads on itch, and I've also recently released a Steam game called Topple Tactics, and that's been going very well as well. So when all the Unity stuff started happening, I was actually working on Topple Tactics. The game took me 8 months to make, and it started happening about 4 months in. So I'm sure you can predict that I was basically shitting myself, and I didn't know what was going to happen and what Unity's future was going to be. But thankfully, they ended up backtracking on it all and basically introduced a slightly different plan that is basically fine now, so no one really cares anymore. So the reason I initially chose Unity was honestly because I didn't know what other engines existed. I had a general idea that Unreal was a thing, but honestly I thought it was just used by AAA studios. I didn't even cross my mind, and also university made us use Unity, and it was basically what was familiar to me, so that's why I started using it. By the way, if I'm rusty in this video, it's because I literally haven't filmed a talking head video in over 2 years, so you will have to bear with me here. The reasons I'm going to keep using Unity is as follows. The first one is, Unity has been around for a very, very long time. That means any problem you have, there is probably someone from 10 years ago that had the exact same problem as you, and therefore all you have to do is just copy and paste some code and be on your way. While I'm not too familiar with other game engines, they probably don't have the same sort of support that Unity has for that kind of stuff, and you might find yourself getting stuck and not really having a solution at hand that can be plugged in immediately, so the game might end up taking longer to make, which, you know, if you do want to be a successful game dev and getting the game done as soon as possible, then, you know, it's something you might want to consider, because at the end of the day, the quicker we make the game, the quicker it can come out, and the quicker we can start making money to support our further game dev endeavors. Well, one of the problems recently actually is I was making skins for the game, and because I'm stupid, I decided to attach everything to the skeleton of the ragdolls in the game. So that basically meant I had to have the exact same renderer on every character, otherwise it did some really funny stuff, essentially. For a very long time, I thought there was no solution for this, but when I finally decided to stop being stupid and search for a solution, lo and behold, 6 years ago, some random guy coded something which I plugged into my game, put in the right items, game objects into the script, pressed the button, and it worked. Other game engines might not have this sort of thing, or if they do have it, they'll have a whole lot less of it, you know? And you know, with coding, there is a hell of a lot of stuff that is very niche, especially if you're getting into making a Steam game or some game that you're going to release to the public, where there's a lot of details in that game. There's very specific stuff you're going to have to do, and you're bound to run into a lot of those sorts of problems. So the fact that Unity's been around for a long time and there are those solutions means you'll get your game done a whole lot quicker. The second reason that I will keep using Unity is, again, because it's been around for such a long time, there are a ton of tools for anything you might possibly imagine, and the asset store is so full of stuff that you don't even have to make a game if you don't want to. You can just buy assets and they make the game for you. For example, when choosing the multiplayer technology that I wanted to use with Topple Tactics, my game, I was quite familiar with Photon. The problem with Photon is that it gets really freaking expensive as soon as you have over 20 users using your app. So when deciding on alternatives, I had a huge array of options to choose from. So instead of Photon, I ended up going with Mirror, which is another networking solution that is supported in Unity. It's open source as well, so you can add to it. I did try to add to it, but I'm too stupid. But if you are into that sort of stuff, you can extend it if you want, which is always a plus. And extending from that, there's also a ton of open source stuff which helps you do stuff easier. I mean, it might be easier if I give you an example. So, Steam. Steam has an API. To connect your game with Steam, if there's no solution for it, you're gonna manually have to do every single API call, which, if you're not into networking, it's a bit of a pain in the arse. Well, Unity has Fizzy Steamworks, which basically does all of the work for you, as long as you can get that thing imported, because that was a bit difficult. But once that's done, all you need to do is do Steamworks dot and then whatever method you want to use. It's that easy. I'm not too familiar with the other game engines, and for all I know, they might have support for, you know, the Steam API, but there is bound to be more of those in Unity than the other game engines. Another good thing about Unity is that it uses C#. C# is a really simple programming language, which means that you won't have to spend your time doing memory management in C++. Actually, I don't even know if you have to do memory management in Unreal, to be honest, so maybe we should take that out. But all I know is that C++ is a hell of a lot harder to deal with than C#, so I like C# and I will keep using C#. And actually, the reason I haven't even considered Unreal yet is because Unreal uses C++ and I can't bring myself to do visual scripting. I just feel like I can't do it. I've been coding for so long, and to start doing visual scripting now, no, I won't do it. To put this very blankly, I think people have overblown it a little bit. I know, what Unity's done is very bad, and it's very bad for their image as a company, and it affects a lot of game developers, but chances are, if you're watching this, it doesn't affect you. So why would you, if the tool still works for you, and it benefits you, because at the end of the day, you need to find what's best for you, what helps you make the game quicker. If that's still the case, and Unity does that for you, it fulfills that purpose for you, then why would you switch to a different engine which is less optimal just to be, you know, a better person for it? It just doesn't make sense for me. At the end of the day, like, you have to look after yourself. If Unity helps you make the best game possible, which in my opinion, for me, the types of games I make at the moment, it does do that, then I will keep using Unity for that reason. Especially now that I've been using Unity for over 2 years, like, Unity would have to do something so bad, like hell of a lot worse than what they've done for me to consider switching, because I already know a lot about Unity and my workflow in Unity is very optimized, so switching to another engine, I fear it would slow it down a lot. I think I will definitely give other engines a go, but at the moment it feels like a bit of a waste of time, in all honesty. At the end of the day, like, as fun as indie game dev is and as wholesome as it is, I think at the end of the day we also need to consider that it is a business, and trying to learn another engine while you have to keep updating your game, or while you're in the middle of making your indie game, it's not a good use of your time. And if you're really hurt by it, or if you think what Unity's done will hinder your long-term progress, then sure, switch. But for the majority of people, it doesn't affect them at all. Yeah, I would only consider switching if I was starting another massive project that was taking longer than a year, because on that sort of time scale, if something else happens, you need to be covered, and if they do pull off something really bad again, they might end up wasting more of your time than what it would have taken to learn another engine. Another reason I would consider using something different is if I didn't have any prior game dev knowledge. So if you're just starting out, then, consider your options. Unity is still a very good option, and it hasn't changed at all, like, all of this stuff has happened, but Unity as a core service hasn't changed. It's still a very good option for a game engine, but I think since that stuff has happened, and obviously the company is a bit less trustworthy now, you should definitely consider, the three main options at least: Unity, Godot, and Unreal. Whereas before this, I would have said Unity's a bit of a no-brainer, unless you're trying to make a really graphically intensive game. Anyway, that's the first video on this channel. I hope it's helped you. As I said, I haven't made a talking head video in over 2 years, so I will have to get used to this stuff again. As I said, my goal with this channel is to help indie game developers as much as I possibly can, and I hope that by making these videos I can do that for you. So see you next video.